Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is an author. I have read a little bit about her. I've read a little bit about her books as well. But I thought, we will talk to her and find out what makes her tick. Her name is Sabina Khan, and she is our Woman in Focus today. Most welcome in our program. Sabina, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Can I please just say I'm very honored to be here in your company. I have looked up to you for many, many years. And it's, when I came to Canada 26 years ago, your face was one of the first South Asian female faces that I saw, and it gave me so much hope. And I used to dream about one day being in a position where I would be in your company. And so 26 years later, I'm very honored.
What took you so long to come and see me? Beautiful to hear that. I am touched. Sabina, you're an author.
That's right.
And I've read about you. You write about marginalized people. Why?
It's about representation for me. It's very important. Most of my life, I didn't see, people like me, people like my daughters being represented in literature.
Yes.
And I was an avid reader, but I never saw any stories that were like us.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, I think the first time I saw or I found a book that had stories about young immigrants like myself at the time was when I was 26 years old. Far too late, I think. But that really gave me hope that our stories have a market, that our stories are important. Because prior to that, I think I just accepted that nobody was interested in stories about us, which was really sad because there's such a rich cultural history and experiences to draw from. And so I think I was a young mother at the time. I didn't have the time or the space to write at the time, but the stories were, percolating in my head just because of my own life experiences and how I would love to share those kinds of things. And then as I was raising my children and they became readers, I realized years later there were still no books that had people like them, that had characters like them or stories about children like them. And that's when I think that's kind of what pushed me towards deciding to just become a writer myself and writing stories for them, for other young readers like them who are, growing up in the diaspora, who are experiencing things that were quite different from the immigrant experience because they were not immigrants.
That's true.
So it was really important for me to write up their stories. And so I started just...
Which was your first book?
My first book is called The Love and Lives of Rukhsana Ali. And it's about a Bangladeshi-American teenager who happens to be queer. And her family's quite conservative. Her parents don't know. And she gets caught. They find out. And then they whisk her away to Bangladesh under the guise of a grandmother's illness. And they try to marry her off. And the story is about her trying to get back to her life in Seattle, where she lives. And just coming to terms with the evolving relationship with her parents, with herself, with her identity.
Yeah.
And I write about immigration, teens who get stuck in immigration issues and just relationships and just the things that do happen to teenagers everywhere. But they're about characters that look like my children, that have the kinds of lives as my children.
When you mention look like my children, you're really mentioning that brown kids, Muslim kids, with maybe strict parental, discipline and things like that. Now, you've lived in many, many different countries. Were you born in
Germany?
Germany.
I was born in Germany.
Okay, why were you born in Germany? What were your parents doing there?
My dad is he was a chemical engineer. And so when he was quite young, he moved there with my mom. And so we were born there. And then I think when I was 8, he decided to move back to Bangladesh to start his own company.
Right.
And so I grew up in Bangladesh from 8 till about 26 when I moved to the US for university.
Right.
And then I met my husband there. And my husband is Hindu. And so that created quite the ruckus.
Oh, wow.
And so I think when I was in Germany, I did face quite a lot of bullying, racism type of. We lived in a small town. And there weren't any brown people there. We were the only brown family. And so as a child, I learned very quickly that I was not accepted.
I was not white.
I was not white, for sure, but also I was told that my skin is brown because it's dirty. And so I remember running home and trying to scrub the brown out of my skin. But I was only like 5 or 6 at the time. And it took years and years of, analyzing and processing to realize that it's not me, it's them. And then when I married my husband, the kinds of comments I was hearing, the kind of reactions from people who didn't know anything about us was very eye-opening. So, I learned quickly that it's not about skin tone, it's just about differences that people, and ignorance, often about ignorance.
Totally ignorance, because they put up a wall in front of them, right? And they do not want to pierce that wall and look at people with a different lens.
Exactly. And so, we decided to raise our children in a very different kind of with a very different kind of mindset, because I didn't want those kinds of limitations. I didn't want them to put those kinds of limitations on themselves, to where they're trying to match somebody else's expectations rather than their own. And I've lived my life like that as well. Like I live my life according to what I think is right and what is important to me. And I think it's important to teach young people especially. And, this is the reason I also write for young readers, is because they need nowadays especially, they need so much to hear that they are perfect the way they are, and that, the labels don't mean anything, that they're just labels.
But labels from the time when you were a teenager to labels what people are getting now, it's so different.
It's very different. And society evolves, identities evolve, labels evolve. And I think it's important to keep an open mind and to care more about the human being more than the label, because the label is just something that we arbitrarily say, okay, this is this.
To give to one another.
Right? We give to one another and we judge according to the labels.
Right.
And I just don't think that's right, because it's harmful and it hurts people, and young people are very, very vulnerable to that kind of rejection and, that kind of labeling.
You've written many books. I want to talk a little bit about the books, but I want to take you to your childhood as well, because being born and brought up in Germany and then living your life in Bangladesh, so you are a Bangladeshi Muslim.
I'm a Bangladeshi Muslim.
If I'm putting labels on people, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And then you've lived in different places in U.S. and finally here in Canada. Let's take a short break and come back to that.
Okay.
Sabina Khan is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Sabina Khan is our Woman in Focus today. So your first book was about a young girl, queer, and all your books are like that?
No, all my books are not like that. I try to touch on different topics, and I also try to showcase the spectrum of the different kinds of parents, different kinds of mindset, So in my first book, for example, the parents were quite strict.
Right.
And had a difficult time to come around and accept what their daughter's, identity was.
Right.
In my second book, I was dealing with immigration issues. The teenager has very supportive parents.
Right.
Is dealing with immigration. Her parents are dealing with immigration issues, and she's getting caught in the middle. And as a young teenager about to go to university, she's devastated with what that might mean. And again, kind of highlighting the peril that young people are in, because of the arbitrary decisions of other people that are not in their control, and that can actually make or break their lives. And then my third book is actually about, it's a two-perspective, it's a mother and daughter set about 17 years apart. So the mother is a student in the U.S., a new student, and she gets pregnant, has to give up her daughter for adoption. And the next part of the story is 17 years later, when the daughter is living with her adoptive moms and is now trying to reconnect with her birth mother. Right. And the emotional turmoil and the emotional journey that
Where do you get all these ideas from? I mean, does it have a little bit, when you meet people, I bet you observe them, you look at their stories, and in your mind you're making up their stories as well.
I'm always, my brain is always on, which is a lovely way. I can go to a coffee shop and concoct stories just listening to people. It's a fun way of.
So you've got a very creative mind.
I do. I have very big imagination, but also a lot of it is from my own life experiences. Like we had a harrowing experience with immigration when we lived in the US.
Yes.
And so part of that, like I try to put a little bit of myself in the stories.
In all the stories.
It's not autobiographical by any means, but it's just little bits and parts of my life and my experiences and the experiences of my children and just, things that are important to me that I try to put into my stories because I feel like, these are universal themes of identity, of representation, of rejection, of acceptance.
Yes.
All of those everybody can relate to regardless of your background, of your skin tone, of your age.
So immigration and discrimination towards people of different caste, color, creed, religion, all that probably must bother you a lot.
It bothers me a lot, which is why I write the kinds of stories I write. Because I wonder about the readers, because they must be facing these kinds of things. And I remember as a child never having access to these kinds of stories. And I imagine what it would have been like if I did have access to those kinds of stories.
Right.
How much it would have meant to me to see myself represented, to see my experiences in those stories, and to give me hope and to give me courage and to just know that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Because there are things that you don't share with anybody when you internalize them and they stay with you for the rest of your lives. And I just think it's important to have those kinds of stories accessible to everybody. And I don't mean to write them only for readers of color. Everyone should read
everybody
them
should read it so that they would know.
Exactly. Like let them see. Let them be let our stories be the windows that they can see, not just the mirrors, right? And it fosters empathy and understanding, and I think those are important things for young people to have access to.
How many in your family? When you were born, I mean, are you the oldest?
Sister. No, I'm the youngest. I have an older sister, and just me and my dad. I mean, me and my dad and my mom.
Yeah.
And then I have two daughters. I have two lovely daughters. They're adults.
So now the story about you meeting your husband and marrying him and him being a Hindu and you being a Muslim, wow. How was that?
Interesting. Yeah, we were both in the States. Our parents were not, they were back home. So
he's from Bangladesh too?
He's from Mumbai.
He's from Mumbai?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's from Mumbai.
And love at first sight?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And we got to know each other and got together very quickly.
Yeah.
Our parents were not happy, but we were adults. I was 26, he was 28, so it's not like we were 16 or something. And we got married against their wishes. And it took some time, and then once we had our first daughter, everybody just...
Yeah, everything was fine.
Everything was fine. And they saw that, we were happy together. So
actually, I sometimes feel that parents just want their children to be happy.
Exactly.
And to have a happy life, person that loves them, and that's it. That's all they want, really.
That's all they want.
Very few parents are the ones who say, "Nee, you have to marry in our own community and our culture and all that."
Yeah. I think even those parents, I think that is coming from a place of protective love. It's just the way it comes out. Sounds terrible, but now that my children are the age, actually older than I was when I got married, I can see how scary it must be when your daughter is halfway across the world,
right?
And she announces that, I met somebody, and I'm going to get married, and I can see how that would freak me out too if they don't know that person, right?
That's right.
But I think it was a matter of them getting to know him, and then they saw what I saw, so that was. That was a great.
How old are your daughters?
27 and almost 31.
And they are married?
No.
And you don't force them, shadi kar lo and all that jazz?
No, because they're having their adventures. My younger daughter is in law school in UC Berkeley right now. My older daughter works in HR.
Right.
And they're living their best lives and
enjoying themselves.
They're enjoying themselves.
Good for them.
They're taking care of their priorities. Getting settled, being planning their futures and stuff. And when the time comes, if it comes, it'll happen.
It will. I want to take a short break and come back to your books because I am really interested in the type of books that you're writing, and I want the names of all the books so that I can get them all and start reading.
Okay.
Sabina Khan is a Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Sabina Khan is our Woman in Focus today. In my childhood and in my mind as well, I'm a very good writer.
I'm sure you are.
But not a good writer, really, because I should have written by now. But I am writing my mother's story now.
Oh. That's lovely.
And her story was very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I should also mention I'm currently the writer in residence with Surrey Libraries for this whole year.
Beautiful.
And so that's a very important, I'm really glad that I was able to do this because the libraries were amazing when I was here with a young family starting out. They offer so many great programs.
They do.
The best thing is that their environment, it was such a safe, welcoming space for all of us.
Very.
And so what I do as a writer in residence, partly I write my own book.
Right.
And partly I mentor people in the community.
Wow.
So they can send me samples of their writing and I will give them feedback during a 45-minute consultation.
Right.
And this runs from it started in January all the way to December. And then I offer workshops as well, creative writing workshops.
Beautiful.
Through Vancouver Public Library as well as, occasionally from Surrey Public Library as a writer in resident as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
I think that's very good. I think people would, if they wanted to avail your services, they can.
And it's free. So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I mean, you said at the age of 26 you started writing, but I think that you were a writer from your very childhood. And you probably had all those stories, and the outlet just came at that point. You mentioned 3 books. The first one was
The Love and Lies of Rukhsana Ali.
That's right, Rukhsana Ali. I love that name. The Love and Lies of Rukhsana Ali. And then the second one was?
Zara Hussain is Here.
Ah, okay.
And then my third one was Meet Me in Mumbai.
And that's when you met him? No, I'm just kidding.
And then my last one is What a Desi Girl Wants. It's a rom-com. So it's just a little bit more fun and light.
Right.
Yeah. And then my very latest one is a middle grade fantasy. So for 9 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
And I love mythology. And I especially love the mythology of, our cultures. And it's all about jinn. So I'm very, very obsessed with jinn lore. And so this is just about a 12-year-old girl who finds a secret object, something happens, she has to save the world. And it's all infused with, our culture and our, folklore and mythology.
Do you ever see any of your stories being adopted and for television?
Almost.
Yeah?
A couple of them almost, but these are usually it's a long drawn out process.
Yeah.
And it always comes very close and then doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I've had 3 of my books at least being almost, in conversation and then it just didn't go anywhere.
Well,
but
I think
still nice.
It's not the right time, but it will happen.
Yeah,
because
you never know.
These are the stories that people do want to see in their own lives and for their own children as well. So when you are at Surrey Public Library must have been a place for you, which is a safe place.
Yes.
As a child and
Very
growing
much.
up as well.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself engrossed in reading different kinds of books?
Yeah.
What is your most favorite genre?
Fantasy.
Ah.
Yeah, fantasy. I do love magic and myth. I'm very obsessed with mythology. And there's a wonderful, wonderful series called City of Brass. And it's for adults, it's not for children. It's very beautiful written. It's written by Shannon Chakraborty.
Right.
It is absolutely gorgeous, and you just get lost in it. You get totally immersed in it, and the world building is fabulous. The mythology she created.
Yeah.
It's like Arabian Nights on steroids. It's just so good, really, just amazing. And it just it's lovely to read books that you aspire to. To write, that make you want to be as good of a writer as that. So it's nice to have these goals, to keep growing as a writer and to be even better and better each time. And
so what are you working on right now?
I'm working on an adult fantasy based on mythology. So my father is from Bangladesh, specifically from Khulna, which is where the Sundarban jungles are. And the home of the Royal Bengal tiger.
Right.
So there is a beautiful myth about a lady of the forest. And I do love shapeshifters, like werewolves and tigers, So I've inspired by that, I've concocted my own world and my own myth. And so that's what I'm working on right now. So fingers crossed, one day it'll be on bookshelves.
How long does it take you to write, and what are your ideas about AI helping people write and all that jazz?
So glad you brought it up. So it takes me varying amounts of time, depends on, like my very first book, I was so desperate, and I think I was 48 years old, and I felt like time was running out. If I don't do this now, it's not going to happen. And I think I was so desperate to have the story out. It came out of me in 16 days. I was writing 10 hours a day, just nothing else. I canceled everything else, and I said, I have to get the story out on paper.
I have to do it.
And it was terrible. It was an absolutely terrible first draft. But you know what? It was a first draft, and I had something that I could now polish and mold into what I wanted it to be. And that took several months to fix it, because I didn't really know how, so I had to learn how to fix it. But I always tell people, I always tell my creative writing students also that, first of all, there's no time limit, there's no expiration date on creativity. You can write whenever you are ready to
That's
write.
right.
The stories are in you. You just do it whenever you can. But also not to write the first draft for anyone else other than you.
Yes.
Because that's really just us telling ourselves the story, just to have it on paper. And then you can work on it and take as long as you like and do with it what you want, So when you talk about AI, like the biggest conversation is that, people are using our work that we have spent, blood, sweat, and tears on, is being used to train AI without our permission, without any compensation to us, and I think that's cheating. And
yes,
it's stealing, actually, right?
It is stealing.
So you're taking something that I have literally worked through my doubts and my insecurities and my, my home life and juggling so many things as one has to create this story, and then somebody's going to take this and just train someone else without any kind of regard for how I feel about it, right? Or even permission.
So
or
that's
anything.
wrong.
It is absolutely wrong. And so, and this is a big conversation going on right now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have read many accounts of people who are using, it's easy, you put in something and it spits out a story, but the human element is missing from there.
Of course it is.
And I feel like it would be a mishmash of so many people's styles. Like, where's your style? Where's your voice in that work?
Well said.
Right? So,
well said. All the more power to you. And I will be looking forward to your latest book then.
Thank you.
All about. Thank you so much for being our Woman in Focus today.
Thank you so much for having me and for being such an icon and somebody that we can all, be inspired by. It's very, very, it's amazing for me to be here with you right now.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Sabina Khan has been our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.